Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Today I'll be taking a look at the Peter Pettigrew 6-scale figure by Star Ace Toys from the Harry Potter films. Let's see how he turned out. Alright, first up as always is the packaging, and as usual Star Ace has done a pretty fine job. You can see some awesome reflective effects going on there. Additionally, you have a sticker down here at the bottom right indicating that this is the deluxe version of Peter Pettigrew. Comes with an exclusive accessory that we'll get to in a bit, a very fine bit of stock photography for the character himself, as well as some credits and various legal stuff going on in the back. A repeat on either side of that same photo over there, and that's pretty much it. Gets right to the point, but speaking of that, let's get to what's on the inside. All right, here he is, Peter Pettigrew, still in his box just the way that he's going to come to you. Obviously, I removed some of the plastic bits that were meant to protect the portrait, the clothing, what have you. But let me just get started by pointing out these great accessories that accompany this figure. Pretty much everything that you're going to need to represent this character at this point in the Harry Potter timeline, that being the Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire film, including this silver metallic hand that Voldemort gifted to him as a magnanimous means of thanking him for resurrecting him from the dead. Thanks, Voldy. And this being probably the most grotesque one that I've seen in the Harry Potter franchise. Up until getting this figure, I hadn't really bothered to look up close at Wormtail's wand. It is an appalling thing, just really abhorrent. Echoes the qualities of the character himself, you might say. Also the one that kills Batman, but we'll get to that. Bone of the Father, unwillingly given. The knife for the flesh of the servant, willingly sacrificed, and that also draws blood from the enemy, unwillingly taken. So yeah, like I said, these are just pretty much all the elements that you need with the figure, except for these. Now look at this. Okay, you've got Scabbers the Rat, so basically, I guess one could make the argument that this is two figures in one, or even three, because here you have Voldemort, little deformed, wasted shell of a Voldemort prior to his resurrection at the hands of Wormtail. This massive scheme that just took up the entirety of the film. Man, that's a really, really badass accessory. I believe, yeah, this is the exclusive accessory that comes with the deluxe version. You are mad if you don't go that route, because this really makes this figure pop. The whole notion, just the obscene way that he's cradling this Dark Lord in his arms with the maniacal gleam in his eye. And by the way, look at that maniacal gleam. I could nitpick this portrait if I wanted to. It's not perfect, but neither is Pettigrew's face. That actor's face morphs so much throughout the course of that film, and there is actually a time when it looks just like this, that exact gleam in the eye, the soft roundness of the cheeks, everything about it just kind of really spot on. And this hair, this rooted hair, you all know how much I don't really dig rooted hair, but given the wild quality of the character's hair in the film, I think that it was the proper choice to make. Again, not something that I would have done myself, but if you'd gone with sculpted, you couldn't get that just crazy, frayed, frizzy look that you can with his hair here. Now, moving south, look at this costume. It's great. By the way, had no idea that he was wearing camo in the film. If that's accurate, then that's just really some crazy design work there. So yeah, that is spot on. Don't know what this figure is going to be capable of on the table. We're going to move it there in a minute. I feel compelled, however, to point out something that I guess that they just didn't consider. The hand that they gave you to wield the knife, the wand, what have you. Now look how perfectly that fits in there. Look at that. Perfect. Except it's the same hand that he has to cut off. So I don't know how that made it through, but I would have been flamed if I hadn't called that out, and it needs to be called out. That's probably something that shouldn't have been overlooked.
I suppose you could make the argument that you could fit the blade into this hand, and you can, but it wobbles, and it's just not going to look right. So that's the only fault that I can find with this figure, really egregious error that I can find with this figure so far. But let's get it under the table and see how it performs and get a couple poses out of it and follow up with a photo gallery.
All right, here he is, Peter Pettigrew from Star Ace Toys, out of his box, ready to roll. I have a great admiration for what they've done with this costume. I just, right before shooting this, just went back and looked at the film and paid close attention to the details on his jacket especially, because the close-up I was looking for was the one of him holding the fetus of, of Voldemort. And the details that they were able to get in the deconstruction of this coat are pretty spot on, just how roughed up it is. Obviously, if you look really close in the film, it's going to look a whole lot more disheveled, more ripped up, more worn. But at this scale, if you try to achieve that look, I feel like it would just fall apart pretty quickly in your hands. Now, but what we're here for today is, that doesn't need to be there, is actually doing some posing. So first up, I kind of want to call out the hair. I think that we need to make Wormtail's hair just a little bit crazier there. But the thing of it is that when I do that, and obviously I'm using his wand as a pick, so to speak. If you do that, it kind of makes everything just go crazy. Messing with rooted hair is not some place that I excel. There are a lot of people out there who do it way better than I do. I'm just kind of learning as I go. I don't gravitate towards rooted haired figures, just because, out of laziness maybe? I don't know. I have to work enough with these figures posing the clothes and posing the joints themselves. But you can see already that just the little bit that I'm doing there just makes him look even more like the character. There's a bit of a caricature-like quality, but looking back and forth now, I've got at my feet the actual photograph on the box, and I'm looking here, and it's pretty solid. It's just got that nasty, exaggerated overbite. He's very rat-like, and they've exaggerated that rat-like quality to an extent that I don't think they did in the films. Probably closer to the way that he's described in the books. It's been a long time since I've read the books, but I seem to remember them being. I seem to remember J.K. being pretty on point with remarking about his similarities to Scabbers the rat. I don't know if you want to zoom in on that, but there it is. All right, so this is the exclusive, and it comes, as I said earlier, it comes with this fetus version of Voldemort, and I think that this is what I want to use. So. First things first, we're going to need to change out these hands. Now, one thing you'll notice that he does have those remarkable little rat claws for nails. So, beware. They're not terribly pointy, but if you're not careful, I suppose they could create a little bit of discomfort. He's going to need the wand in this hand for the pose that I have in mind. And just kind of really gently rock it back and forth until you get that in there. Now, I think that I kind of want to just play with that. Yeah. All right. Now, one thing that I will point out is that his feet the boots are solid, and I'm not getting a whole lot of play there. I don't know that there's anything that can be done about that. I'm concerned about breaking the ankles if I try too hard, so I'm just going to leave it as is. Kind of get a little crook up there for Voldemort to rest in. I've never done this before, and I don't have any children, so I have no experience when it comes to cradling babies, which is essentially what was going on here. So let's just get that in there. It kind of forms a nice little nook for the dark fetus to rest in. Now, it's pretty solid, but with all the other stuff that I have to do, I don't want him to fall out. So I'm just going to pull him off as I try to hit his Vada Kedavra pose. Just trying to take a look at this other hand. No, this is clearly the one that I want. All right, cool. So, wand in hand. It's a gnarly looking thing, isn't it? Wonder what they were thinking of when they designed that. So this is decision time. Do I want to try to imitate the way that the actor was actually standing in the film, which was unremarkable? Or do I want to go with more classical posing techniques like I typically do? And I think I'm going to go with the latter here, especially considering the relative rigidity of the feet. Now, you can see already that it's not going to be flat-footed the way that I have it. I'm just going to run the risk here of trying to twist it. I think there's more of a forward-back rocker movement to it, which kind of makes me think that they've got that sort of swivel mechanism down there that they had in the last Star Ace figure that I played with. So, not wanting to ruin that, I'm just going to leave it alone, make sure the pants are okay. And this is really just going to be a straightforward, I'm just going to get that up a little bit more. Because he's going to have to be looking down. You want him to be looking down and just kind of glaring. Those creepy eyes, man, they're just so creepy. So let's just get these feet as stable as possible before bringing Voldemort in. And I kind of like the way that works. I think in the film, Voldemort's looking more towards Cedric Diggory at this point when he says, "Kill the scab," or whatever he calls him. But what I really like is how he just kind of seems to be halfway looking up at Peter, at Wormtail, and it just kind of gives the impression that it kind of showcases his vulnerability at that point, which I'm sure Voldemort would do because he's manipulative that way. He doesn't want to appear vulnerable. He knows that he is, and maybe he's flattering Peter or promising him whatever. Immortality, favor, a place in this brave new world that he's trying to create. Yeah. That's a pretty dope looking figure once you get all that in place. I'm just going to play with this wand a little bit and just to try to get to more of a direction out of it. But I think having it angled slightly up as if he's about to drop it down and point and say Avada Kedavra is pretty much where it's at. So I'm going to just bring this stand in and call that done. I mean, you could also arguably display some accessories with it. So drop Scabbers the Rat in there. I mean, that's clearly not going to be the scene. Bring in the bone of the father, unwillingly taken, the knife, so they can take his own hand, flesh of the servant, and blood of the enemy, and then get these hands out of the way. And you've got a pretty decent figure display that just showcases what it's all about. Yeah, that'll look good in a Harry Potter display. So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed that. Coming up right now is the photo gallery.
While Peter Pettigrew may not be the vilest of the characters in the Harry Potter books and films, he's certainly the most perfidious, although even that's arguable. But there's a lot of fun to be had by having a villain that's so despicable and so vile, pathetic even. He really speaks nicely towards the sort of person that's attracted to a character like Voldemort. Pathetic, weaselly, worm-like, in need of somebody powerful to protect him. I can't imagine anybody wanting a Peter Pettigrew figure as their only figure in a Harry Potter collection, apart from perhaps the actor and or his family or friends. But I can say without a doubt that this figure would make a very admirable addition to any collection of Harry Potter figures, especially the darker side figures such as Voldemort and the like. That's about it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think of the figure and the video in the comments below. And until next time, be good to your plastic.